I want to show you how I landed an $84,000 SaaS client as a young software agency. Now, as you can see, the client so far has spent $60,000 on us, but we are on a subscription basis to use $84,000 plus. And in this video, I want to show you everything from how I landed this client to how I got contacted and why, how to get high-paying clients like this, the process for closing high-paying clients. I want to show you a six-figure software proposal that I use across the board that has made me hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I want to also show you how I onboard clients with an onboarding template. Now, if you want to watch this video Netflix style and get all the templates for free, including the six-figure proposal template, the six-figure Notion project management template, and a client onboarding template, I have created a completely free guide for you. Just hit the link down below in the description, put in your email, and you will have that free guide, including the template, so you can reproduce this exact same process for your agency or your own freelancing business. As well, I want to show you the tools that I use for designing and wireframing, for project management, communication, code management, and modeling. Now, to give you some context, this is a Web3 SaaS project. So yes, it involves blockchain, it involves NFTs, stuff like that. But that's as much as I can tell you about it. So for me, everything starts from YouTube and Instagram. That's actually where I get most of my clients right now. As you can see on Instagram, I would simply produce blockchain content. I would talk about blockchain, about NFTs. And you notice I actually started producing blockchain content around December 8th of 2021. On YouTube, same thing. I would produce content like Solidity Smart Contract tutorials, like a Solidity in 4-hour tutorials. I would make YouTube lives, for example, like an ERC 721 smart contract, an ERC 1155 smart contract. And again, the whole goal here was to simply showcase to the clients what I know. And that's honestly the best advertising I realized that you can do. That is the best resume you can have, which is just showcasing what you know so that people can see exactly what you do. By the way, if you are a startup company and you're looking for design or development team to help build out your idea from A to Z, design to development, or you're a current SaaS company that's looking to decrease churn rate and increase conversion rate, we have helped many companies build out their SaaS ideas and to decrease churn rate and increase conversion rate just through design. We have had nothing but 5-star reviews from our current clients, and so that is something that you're looking for. Go ahead and schedule a free consultation call down below with me, where together we will figure out 1, what is the goal, and 2, how can we get to that goal. Other than that, let's get back to the video. Now, at this point, I've had quite a lot of projects, including NFT projects, and I've grown my team to actually now be 6 developers, designers, and so we have a pretty big team now. Now, on January of 23rd, 2023, I get this email, and it says, I recently came across your YouTube videos for NFTs. I have an NFT project I'm managing and want to see whether I might be open to helping us out with some development work. Now, as you can see, he came from YouTube. Again, the key here is social media. When I get an email like this, again, this January 23rd, 2023, I right away go on to scheduling a call. And I learned this trick from selling millions of dollars of worth of courses, which is always specify a time for your next call. Be like, hey, are you able to meet on Thursday at 4 p.m. PST or EST, whatever it might be? And then the client will tell you yes or no, or will tell you a date closer to that specific time. It makes you the leader in the conversation. It says that you are able to progress the conversation instead of being an open-ended, hey, what time are you able to meet? It's too much for a client to make a decision on. There's too many possibilities. Instead, keep it very simple as, hey, are you able to meet at this time, at this point in time? And that's it. On the first call, my goal is very simple. 1, to figure out what your goal is. 2, can I help you? And 3, how can I help you? Let's talk about how to price yourself correctly for a project and how to make sure that the client is right for you. I have gone through many different phases of this iteration, and I'm still constantly learning on what is the correct way to do this. And you might be asking yourself that question a lot as well. Hey, what is the right price? What should I be charging? How do I charge? How do I ask for that price? Right? A lot of great questions. The biggest thing is when I talk about price, it's always about being results driven. If you're doing design, let's just say, the question becomes is, how is design going to help the client? Is it going to increase conversion rate? Is it going to decrease churn rate? Is it going to help them get more investors onto the project if it's a startup company, as an example? Is it going to allow them to increase their prices for a product because their product looks a lot more professional? So whenever I talk to a client, I always ask questions like, why do you need design? Why do you even need a redesign? How is it going to help you? Because with that answered, I know that, hey, okay, if you want to be able to attract much better investors through this redesign, what is the value of that? Is that a 100K value? Is that a 200K value? Is that a 20K value? They might tell you, hey, yeah, that might help me get some more investors, which could be in the range of, $100,000. Okay, great. So if that's going to help you get more investors of 100K, that is awesome. Now I know why I'm doing what I'm doing and how it's going to help you. Once you've kind of figured out, hey, what is the value behind that? Then we set the price on the first call right away. Very important as well. A lot of people say, hey, let me get back to you. I'll send you a proposal in an email. No, do not ever do that. Please, this is really wrong, and that's just I just want to be like an X on it. I want to figure out what the price is and what the budget is on the first call of literally meeting the client. I figured out what the goal is, and now I'm like, okay, so is there a budget you're looking for? There's two ways this can go with the budget. The first way this can go is they say, hey, okay, my budget is this, in which case you can be like, okay, great. We can work with that budget, or we can't work with that budget. Depends on what you work with. If they say, I don't know what the budget is, just tell me what you're looking for and I'll let you know, or they say, send me a proposal and I will tell you. Here's how I say it. No problem whatsoever. We usually work with projects between the range of $10,000 to $40,000. Is that in your budget? And then at that point, they have to say yes or no, because you give them a price range, 10K, 40K. They might say to you, yeah, 10K, we can work with that kind of a budget. So now you know if that client is qualified for even just the budget range. Then you can be like, hey, if I sent you a proposal for $20,000, is that something you're okay with? And then again, the client might be like, maybe, yeah, that could work. Or the client could be like, no, this is not in our range. In which case, you know what they're working with and you know that their budget is limited, in which case you can change what you're giving them to fit that specific budget. But I always do this on the first call. I don't send a proposal. I don't go into a proposal phase until I know if the budget is there. If the budget is not there, I just say no problem. No worries whatsoever. Whenever you do get the budget, feel free to reach back out to me. But other than that, hope you have a great day. And if you want some cheaper options, here are some options that you can probably get from other companies and so forth. Let's talk about the different options you got for pricing yourself. You got fixed price, of course, and we got retainer pricing. Fixed price, I put a really big exclamation point on here because I'm not a big fan of fixed price. I have lost a lot of money on fixed price pricing. Personally, I have learned that this just does not work for me. When you're starting out, it might be something you have to do, but over time, you can modify your pricing. With fixed price, the way I usually do it is I would do like a discovery phase, especially if it's a full development project, and it's a paid discovery phase that could be between $6,000 to $10,000, depending on the project. If that's just a design project, I know kind of what I'm trying to design, but if it's a development project, we have to really go through the project to understand what's going on there. And then I will set up a fixed scope, fixed timeline for a project. The problem becomes with this project is, well, a lot of times this becomes a fixed scope, flexible timeline. What does that mean? You have a fixed scope and then you realize that you can't fit that scope into this timeline, so that you extend the timeline and then you end up working for free a lot of the times. So I'm not a big fan of this structure whatsoever, honestly. But you can do it, of course. Just make sure you really understand what you're getting yourself into. The second option I found actually with fixed price that actually works a little bit better is we just set a timeline, which is say, hey, if your budget is $20,000, okay, great. You actually have flexible scope, and fixed timeline. What does that mean? Hey, you basically have the ability to use my service for 2 months. Okay, 2 months. And so you pay for 2 months only. Yeah, it's fixed timeline. But let's just say is if after month 1 you see that you're not able to make it into the timeline, then you say, hey, we need to modify the scope. And this has actually helped me a lot. And the current project that I'm working with is this project right here. So we set the timeline. What does that mean? It's like, hey, you have us rented for this amount of months, okay, this amount of months, and we don't go above that. We can have flexible scope. So I can work with the scope and change the scope with you. I can also decrease the scope in order to fix that timeline. But above a specific timeline, like 2 months, we just don't work, like period. So you have to work with me to figure out how can we fit some kind of a scope into the timeline consistently. And this encourages the customer to be very careful about what he adds onto the scope, and it also allows you to decrease the scope if need be. So I've actually have this work for me, and it's not bad. The other part is just retainer. Retainer I like the most. This is what we do now 99% of the time. Hey, you have us rented as a team for this much money per month, and you have flexible scope and flexible timeline. And this is awesome because a lot of people, especially if it's a startup company, they want to be able to modify the scope. They want to be able to change what they need to do to be very agile, but it also allows you to be flexible timeline. I actually realized that this also produces the best results because there's none of this pressure on you. And at the same time, you're not working for free, which a lot of time just leads to horrible work. And I'm not a big fan of that. So those are the two pricing structures that I have found myself in. At this point, I want to be mostly in this structure right here. I have had projects who are in this structure as well. For design, there's definitely ways to do a fixed price. For development, I'm not a big fan of doing fixed price for development. It's really hard to fully know everything ahead of the time. So that is how I price the projects. Hopefully you learned some good stuff with that. Let's move on to the next one. After the first call, I always schedule a follow-up call. A lot of people I talk to never schedule a follow-up call, even if the client right now is unsure, or maybe they're trying to figure out their investment strategy, or they're still giving it time. Always say, hey, are you able to meet, let's just say in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks, in 1 month? And even if the client says to you, hey, let's play it by ear, well, I'll tell you when it is. Here's your response. You say, hey, no problem whatsoever. I just like to have a call scheduled. And if something on your end changes, you just let me know and we will reschedule it. It gives you a reason, one, to reach back out to the customer and to have that client still active. Otherwise, if you just let him decide when to call you, it's like you're always thinking, hey, is he active? Is he not? Does he want to do this? Does he not? Versus if you schedule a follow-up call, you have a reason to reach out and to check back in. In this case scenario, as you can see, actually between January 23rd and April 4th, a lot of time has passed. And we have scheduled a follow-up call to talk about the next steps. In the meantime, he had to decide his other things he needed to worry about in the business. And so he didn't have the time to make this a priority just yet. But on April 4th, we got on a call around April 4th, April 5th, I forgot already. And we talked about a proposal. Now, this is where I do it differently as well. When someone asks me for a proposal, I don't actually give a proposal. I only give a proposal when I know the client wants to work with me, because I'm not in the business of doing proposals. I'm in the business of designing and building software. In a situation like this, what I usually say, hey, let's get on a call where we can talk about the project and we can talk about the pricing structure. And I schedule a call. This was a call scheduled before April 10th, and we go through the proposal presentation. Now, here it is. I call this presentation a 6-figure SaaS proposal template because it has made me a lot of money. And again, the link for this is down below in the description. And I start out with simply just what the project name is. We talk about who are we, what our mission is, and then we go straight into the project. Here, for example, I specify here's the project that we have done, a little description about it, and points about what we have done for the project. So in this case, it could be like, we did UI UX design, we did the main process landing page, development for this section, we did the secure smart contracts. And again, you specify the project, what you did, and the look of the project as well. Next, I go straight into reviews, which is here's the review that we have gotten, and you definitely want to put your public reviews on here. Then, again, this is a template for you that you can use for how to structure your projects here. Again, project name, and then the image of the project. And I will go back and forth. I will go first, I would say project, then review, project, review. Again, this gives the client context about what have you done and have the people liked what you have done. And that's all you pretty much need. Once I've gone through all of my projects, I specify their project name and we talk about their general scope. This part I don't always do. Sometimes I don't have the general scope because my pricing is sometimes just a monthly retainer. And so it doesn't really matter what the scope is right now. Now in a situation like this, I would talk about what the goals are, high-level goals. For example, like build an epic landing page that converts visitors into loyal customers, or I would say something like build a minting process that will sell your NFTs to the users. Once we've gone through those, I go into the cost and the timeline. I have the timeline here, which is month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4, month 5, month 6, and I explain a little bit in terms of what happens. I usually start with the discovery phase, then we go into UI UX design, and then we go into development. That's the usual process that we take for a bigger project like this. But you might have a different process. Then I do a very simple transition. I give you how much the project costs. Again, it depends on the project here. The situation, I just specify here is the cost range and here is the range of months it could potentially take. Now there could be more months that it could take, could be less, depending on how long the project is. Very important, a lot of people that I see will give packages, 3, 4 packages. Package 1 is this, package 2 is this, package 3 is this. Some scenarios it could work. For me, it has never worked. I want package that is very simple. Hey, I know what you want. I know what your goal is. And here's the package that will make your goal. Here's the package that will get you to you. And that's the only one you present. So I keep it very simple. I say, here's your solution. And here's how much it's going to cost. And then here's our monthly cost if you have a monthly cost retainer, for example. After the cost, I usually say, hey, is this a range you're looking for? And they would say either yes or no. And then you can adjust pricing after that. I right away go into what you get. So for example, you get a dedicated Epic team to make your project a success, a dedicated skilled team with a project manager, support and so forth. Again, rehearsing, going back through what was the goal and what you're getting. And then if there's an upfront cost, I talk about the upfront cost. That is the proposal. I gauge if the customer wants to work with me or not. And if the customer wants to work with me, then we move on to the contract phase. In this situation, he was interested. He was like, okay, that's awesome. I need to get back to my team. I need to talk to my team. He was getting pricing from other agencies, in which case I was like, okay, no problem. Let's schedule the next call. And so we did. After the proposal was done, we had to schedule another follow-up call in May. And at this point, because of the circumstances of the client, I knew this project would not start until later on. So what I would do is I would schedule just check-ins. Hey, checking in here, checking in here, checking in here. Just quick check-ins. Hey, how's it going? How's it going? How's it going? And then at some point in May, we were like, okay, we've got the funding. We're good to go. Let's go ahead and start on this. On June 9th of 2023, the project was fully closed. We created a contract that actually went through a few phases as well. And then the contract was finally done. That's how long it took me, between almost 4 months and some, between January 23rd and June 9th to actually fully close this project. But that's how long sometimes it takes. But of course, the work is not done. The work has just started. When I asked the client, why did you go with us? Because there were other agencies that he was potentially looking in. And he said it very simply. He said, one, honestly, I liked how you were doing stuff on YouTube. It gave me a lot of confidence that you know what you're doing and that you will be able to build my project. And so that has told me a lot, that how important social media and YouTube is. As we start with the project, I want to show you what I do to onboard a client. This is a very important step that you do not want to miss. I have this template again in the description below, so you feel free to download it for yourself and use it. But basically the whole goal of this presentation is, one, reiterate why we are here, set boundaries for the partnership, and set some ground rules, which is really important. And in the end, get excited about the project. So you can see here, I simply welcome the client. I say, hey, we are excited to take this company to the moon. And then I talk about communication. At this point, I onboard them into our Slack, our Notion board. We schedule our weekly meetings, and then we figure out what emails are going to be on those meetings. I tell them, hey, we are not 24/7 support. Yes, we sleep too. So of course, I like to have fun with this at the same time. We will do our best to respond ASAP, and most of the time, 99% of the time, I respond very quickly. Then I'll walk through the project success process. Again, just walking through the phases that we're doing so that everybody's clear on this. And then we walk through some more important things, like important things to remember, like you hired us as experts, so please trust us. Again, this is important because sometimes clients want to take over and you're like, hey, but you hired me for why? Why did you hire me? If you hired me, then trust me in terms of why I'm saying what I'm saying. When designs are final, it's final. Again, just some things that we like to keep in mind. And then to make your life easier, let's try to stick to the scope. Again, depends on the project. If it's a retainer project, not so much necessary as if it's a fixed price project. Being on time meetings is important, is the key. So just make sure that respect goes both ways. And then we talk about, if you have any concerns, I'm all ears. Again, want to reiterate on the fact that I am here to listen. If there's problems, I'm here to listen. Because like it or not, sometimes you will have problems and you have to address them. And so you want to be open-minded to them. That's very important. Most importantly, let's crush this and we get excited about the project. So very simple meeting that sets the tone for our partnership. At this point, you've got it. Now the hard part starts, which is actually executing on the work. Now I want to walk you through some of the tools that we use at our company to make everything happen. So for project management, we use Notion and Slack. For Notion, I actually have a template that I will also give you down below in the description in terms of how I manage the whole project. Again, very important. We use Slack for communication to manage my team and to also communicate with the client. For planning and modeling, I use Board. Exactly what you see right here. I love it, and I've gotten some great feedback from the clients constantly in terms of how much they like this. You can see here, I usually divide this up into like a timeline here. I specify here design section, front-end section, API section, smart contract database. You can do it whichever way you want it. And I use Board not just for timeline, but just for general note-taking, to create a mind map, to just, put my thoughts on there. Anything, we use Board for that. For the software development, of course, GitHub and Vercel. For communication, we got Slack and messages. I know some people don't like to be messaged on iMessage. I don't mind it personally. I think it's great that the client actually has you on their phone. I don't see a reason why you should hide it. I never have done it, and it's never been a problem to me. Presentations, of course, Canva. Meetings are on Zoom. And this is important, guys. Grain has helped me a lot. This records and transcribes your whole Zoom meeting. So later on, if you forgot something, you can always go back and look at exactly what you had. Or maybe someone says something, you want to prove to them like, hey, but you said this, right? So this is also can be very useful. It creates summaries, it creates to-do tasks automatically for you and sends you all of that information to Slack or email. For design and wireframing, of course, the king, Figma. Can't go wrong with it. Love Figma. And then for contracts, we use PandaDoc. So these are all the tools that we use. Again, this all depends on the project. Sometimes we use more tools. But right now, I want to actually take you through the Notion board for project management, because this has been a very, very big key driver for improving my project management process and actually improving the value of my work. Here is my Notion board template I use for managing any software or design project. And it has also made me a ton of money, and it has also increased the value of what I provide. So again, the link for this is down below in the description. Feel free to get it completely for free and use it for yourself. But basically, I do this for every single client. It's very, very simple. You put the client's name or the project name. You can put their logo inside here. You can customize the banner, make it feel personal. And there's two things that mostly are really important here. One is the roadmap, and then two is the updates. Let's go through the roadmap here. Roadmap is, like I said, it's the roadmap. It's what things you need to do for the project. So maybe let's just say if it's a development project, you need to say homepage, profile page, or let's just say like that. And then right away, you can actually map it and create an estimated timeline for how long something is going to take. As well, the same thing is also, you can see it here on the board. You can see I can move my homepage from not started to in progress. And so it now has a status of in progress. And the same thing, it has a different type. So let's just say maybe it's a smart contract or a mint process, or maybe it's a design type task. You can go ahead and do that here. As well, this is where I also assign people. So my team gets assigned through here, and that way every team member knows exactly what they are working on. Again, just very, very simple. And then this other view, this calendar view, also just gives you a very nice high-level overview of what's going on. The second thing is updates. Updates is really important as well, because in here is every single week I have a meeting once a week with the client, and we talk about 3 things. 1, what did we do? 2, what we're going to do this upcoming week, and any questions that we might have. Again, this is just great for documentation for yourself. A lot of people I talk to, or even other agencies I have worked with, they do none of this stuff. They're just like, hey, let's play it by ear, week by week. And you're like, okay, great, but where am I actually at? I don't like that at all. It doesn't give me much confidence. I'm not a big fan of that. So this is really good. In terms of design stuff, anything design related we put here, we just put the link in there so the client can later on just go back and see it. And the same thing here. This is documentation links and any links you have to the landing pages or backend, whatever it might be. So you can, of course, customize this to your own liking. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you want to continue to learn from me as I build a design development agency, go ahead and hit that subscribe button to get more videos like this in the future.